Hey there, SmythOS data wizards in training. In this video, we will diving deep into the world of data manipulation and transformation. We will uncover powerful techniques for processing data, master the art of working with arrays and complex structures, and harness the magic of loops in your workflows. Let's start by exploring some key techniques for processing and transforming data within SmythOS.
Let's say we only wanted to look at the first. We go back and look at, remember we've talked a little bit about arrays, which are basically like lists or rows of data. Within content, we have this item here, right? So if we scroll up a bit, it's going to show us, oh, you're in the content array now. Within the content array, I have a list of these objects, right? Paragraph, 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 paragraph. Whoop. This paragraph is made up of some funny stuff. More paragraph, a bullet list, not a paragraph. And then within the bullet list, there are list items and so on and so on. So this is our content. So what we want to do is go ahead and for what we're going to do here, we're only going to look at grabbing out the first piece of text in this agent, right? So what we want to do is get within the content, we're going to get the first item in the array. Okay, the first item in the list or the first row in the sheet. Is everyone following me? Can I get some pluses or minuses or thumbs up or thumbs down? Okay. So when we're trying to look at the first element in that array, it's a different kind of notation. Arrays or lists, and you can see them, they have, can anybody tell me how you can identify an array? Just drop it into the messages or go ahead and you can shout it out if you want. What were those symbols? Does anyone remember? That's right. So what we want to do is get, and here's one of the funny things, and this is left over from that coding JavaScript world. The way to refer to the first item in the list in an array is 0. They all start with 0 and not with 1. Okay. So this should actually give us that very first piece of content, right? So let's take a look now and see what we get. We get the very first item. And within that item, we want to get the text, which is part of the content. And the content has another array. Can anybody tell me what I would want to do here? To get to this, which is part of the object. Here, let's pull this in. Okay. So within this, there is the content. Content has an array. It's that first item. What's in that first item? What do we need to refer to after content? The zeroth item in content. Anyone? We need to refer to the text in order to get this text, right?
As Mike demonstrated, identifying and extracting specific data points is crucial in data manipulation. Now let's dive into working with arrays and complex data structures.
So to do that, we're going to have to turn off debug and go ahead and edit this part. So I've done something fun here. Let me go ahead, turn off debug, refresh my screen. Come back into on debug, come back into here. Now I'm going to go back over and grab my issue. Go back over to inject my issue. Okay, so I did something a little bit wrong in what I did here. Go ahead, Mario.
This might be an display issue only. Could you indeed step it to the next step? Because sometimes when it's an array or an object, you do not see it in the output there, but it is there.
Yes. So
look at the
So what it is it's not just that, it's then we have to go into the content of the content. Content text. So turn off debug. This is getting way too long, by the way. Nope, that wasn't it.
try to get it to the next step, because sometimes it tells you undefined, but it is it does not let you look at the object. Try to now step it and look at the input. Now you will delete the. Don't get nervous. Okay.
No. What I'm doing is making it so that it's easier to see the input. If putting it in a for each loop goes into nowhere, that's the problem. So I can't. It's more difficult to see. So.
Yeah, you see, it is there. You cannot see it in the. I got tripped up by that behavior or too. Just because you cannot see it in the preview from the output from your endpoint, but it is still there. But it's an object or array, and it does not display it here. It tells you it's undefined, but it is indeed not.
So what we want to do is go ahead and get the text out of here. This is something I'm going to try, but I've never done before with an echo element. It's not going to work. What am I talking about?
It is going to work. Just create the
You see?
output. Yeah, it is.
Well, here's what I'm thinking about doing.
Yeah, that will work. Wait. Have a look at the input again.
Content, yeah.
Content
So I need
dot text.
Content, and then the item, and then the text.
Mm-hmm.
Should hit the wrong button. There we go. Okay. Now that we've got this to work, we can actually remove this. So what I want to do is change this. So what I want to do is get to the place where this is giving me back the array here, that I can then use this prompt to actually get the text out of and come back with a list of everything. So I now have this where I now have the array of objects that I need to process. So I'm going to drop that into the for each. I did that first by just getting the one, and then I'm going to drop the loop into here. So this is going to need, in particular, this is going to need some work, but let's see. Well, let's see how it goes. Okay, we're going to step through. We've got 12 pieces here. Here's our input. That's our first one. We step to the second one. Okay. We're going to go ahead and run this. Go ahead, Hazem. Hazem?
Can you hear me, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so on the LLM on the right,
Yep.
It's an info LLM, so you should remove all of the content and make it only input. Hit the gear for that LLM, the gear icon. Yep, remove everything, make it input, only input, because that's an echo. That's it. Thank you.
Let's try this again. So does everyone understand what is going on here? I just want to make sure we get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So what we're doing is we're taking the array here, which is basically the list of all the content inside of the description. And then we're getting the text from that inside of the content, that array. We're getting the text from that. But in some of those, that's not going to be correct. And that's going to be because not everything is text, right? Type bullet list. So it's not going to work for those. So it it fails in what we're doing there.
Understanding array structures and indexing is essential when working with complex data in SmythOS. Finally, let's explore using loops and interactive processes in workflows.
So what we want to do is we want to get to the content for not the first one, but for all of them, right? So if we go back to here, this gives us all of the description and pieces that we want. So we'll actually drop this. And then Use a JSON filter. Okay, so just so that everybody's kind of following along with what I'm doing here, we have an array here. So the for each loop takes an array, or basically a list. You could think of an array as a complex row or set of rows inside of an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, and that it can actually contain data within it. In other words, rows can contain rows can contain rows. So for each of the pieces of content, which can be paragraphs, it looks like it can also be like a hard break. It could be text. It can be all sorts of interesting things that go into that. So what we really want to do is basically go through each of these and then pull out the text and then return that text. One way to do that is a JSON filter, right? Which is kind of interesting, but probably won't work. Let me show you why. Run this. Oops, sorry. So we have the body, issue, fields, description, content. We're going to bring that array into a for each loop, which is going to look at each item inside of here, right? So you see that there's one. It's going to take just that first one, and then it's going to take just this second one, and so on. And then we want to try and get the text out of here, right? Everyone following along? Or have we gone too far down the rabbit hole? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay. So we know that webhook gives us that document. Right? It gives us this document here. So we can use that in our building of the agent, right? And when we get that, we know that we can then, by looking at the structure of that document, we can see that it is going to be given to us as the issue in the body, in the fields, in the description. Sorry. And so what we did is we actually just addressed it directly. Body, issue, fields, description, content. So if we go and take a look, go back to here. Body is part of what Smith gave us. Issue is the name of the parameter. Fields, and then here. And then description. And then within the description, we go to the content, right? Because we know we want to get to here. Is that helping?
Loops allow us to efficiently process large amounts of data, making our workflows more powerful and flexible. To recap, we've covered techniques for processing and transforming data, working with arrays and complex data structures, and using loops in your SmythOS workflows. These skills will empower you to handle even the most complex data challenges in your agents. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.